Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Living Life at LifeView. This is your host, Dr. Veronica Garcia. And today we are joined by Jeremy Kastine, and he has a beautiful, very interesting background and a great resource for the student. Jeremy, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing very well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Talk to us a little bit about your background, which is very interesting.
All right. I am a math professor, but I came to math pretty late in my academic career. I started all throughout middle school and high school. All I cared about was music. I played clarinet and trumpet and band, and I studied music history in my spare time, and that's all I cared about. And I was sure I was going to major in music in college and have some kind of career in music. And I did start 2 years at a community college majoring in music. I played violin in the orchestra, I sang in the choir, I sang some operatic roles. I worked for 4 years as a organist at a church, and I got into composition and theory, but none of it really clicked. None of it I was ready to commit to because, I don't know, frankly, I just wasn't as good at any of it as I expected myself to be.
Okay.
I don't know if my expectations were too high or what, but so I was at a community college, so I got to just try a bunch of other classes. I stayed for 2 more years at a community college after that. So 4 total years at a community college, trying every class I could think of except for literature because I didn't want to touch it. So I took art history, I took languages, I took accounting, and eventually I took calculus. And I'd always been okay at math before, but I didn't care about it. But I took a calculus class, and it was exciting. It was interesting. And I decided that year, I want to be a community college math professor.
Wow.
And so within 2 more years, I got my bachelor's degree at Portland State in math. 2 more years, I got my master's degree at Georgia State in math. And then I was teaching at a community college in North Carolina. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to teach math, and it was great. It was everything I expected. But in my spare time, I still did some music. I played piano. I did a little bit of composing on the side. And in playing around with composing, I came across a technique that, throughout my studies, I'd never really come across before. I thought it was really interesting. There were a lot of mathematical problems related to it. So it got me thinking about doing a PhD. I had kind of written off the idea of ever doing research or a PhD. And when this idea came up, it seemed new and original, and I thought I wanted to do something with it. So I contacted Dr. Mariana Montiel at Georgia State University, who specializes in mathematical music theory.
Wow.
And I did my PhD there. And now I've ended up here at Life University.
So math and music, that just blew my mind. Talk to me about how does those interlap? Because it seems to me like this beautiful passion that you grew up with, coming up with this new discovered, fulfilling brand new passion. But how did you mix both of those? And talk to me a little bit about a project that you were involved and I read recently about.
Okay. So in terms of the connection between math and music, in a sense, you can study anything through a mathematical lens. So in that sense, music isn't very special. In fact, these days with artificial intelligence being such a big deal, anything that humans do, AI researchers are really, really interested in because we want to be able to replicate that. And music is a very, very human creative activity. So there's a lot of AI researchers that would like to be able to replicate it. So there's a lot of interest in that sense. In fact, a lot of research in mathematical music theory gets published in artificial intelligence journals. So that's one connection. There's a deeper connection that kind of precedes artificial intelligence, of course, though, which is that math and music are both very, very heavily based on patterns at all scales. So of course, counting is a pattern kind of a thing to do. And at all areas of math, you're either taking some kind of external pattern and trying to explain it with mathematics, or you're looking for patterns within math itself. Every mathematical theorem is essentially the result of a mathematician noticing a pattern within mathematics.
Okay.
And then music is based on patterns. The sounds that we hear are based on vibrations in the air, and those are patterns of vibrations that we hear. and then on up through, scales and chords and rhythms and the structure of entire pieces of music. These are all patterns within a piece of music, within a phrase, within a whole genre of music. There's patterns everywhere. And so these two areas of math and music, because they're both essentially talking in the same language of patterns, it makes it really natural to connect them together.
That's beautiful. And from my point of view and from my perspective, I deal a lot with the brain and I deal a lot with that piece. And I always tell patients and also have conversations with colleagues all the time, like life, the human body, the brain, it's all just patterns that are being developed, and we see them replicated through innate intelligence around the world. You know, when you look at how the rivers are lined up from a big lens, it's actually almost identical to how our neurons are wired in our brain.
Yes, yeah.
And that is then mathematics as well.
Yes.
And I want to ask, because it seems like a very left brain and a very right brain for you. Both are very dominant. It seems like from this conversation, how are some ways that you can encourage students that are maybe a little bit intimidated by the term of, I have to take a calculus class or an algebra or a math class? How are some creative ways that you use or that you encourage other professors to use to help those students kind of go through those courses?
Oh, that's rough. I don't know. One of the biggest issues in mathematics, especially the type of mathematics that our educational system seems to be pushing everything towards, is everything is very algebra based, and the notation is very cumbersome. This notation developed over thousands of years by hundreds, thousands, millions of people, all just adding their little takes on things and putting things together. It's very hodgepodge the way that our notation is put together. And so, one of my dreams for my life is to be able to essentially reform mathematical notation to make it represent the simplicity that's actually there.
Okay.
And so I'm not there yet. I don't know how to reform an entire system of notation. But what I try to do with students is to help them look past the notation and understand the idea of what like a mathematical expression is talking about, and acknowledge to them the notation isn't perfect. It's not a true representation of what we're doing. And it's just something, that's a part you have to get used to. Just like ordinary language is not a perfect representation of any thought or any description of what's happening.
Wow. That's a really great way to put it, because it definitely for some individuals can be intimidating, but when you're able to give it a hypothesis, when you're able to ask a question of a why, or does it have to be, that allows for a whole new door of possibilities to open.
Yeah.
That is amazing and beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. How can students get in contact with you? How can they ask questions and talk to us a little bit about that?
My email is jeremy.kastine@life.edu. That's the best way to get a hold of me. And I'm always available in the CGUS faculty suite. If anyone wants to drop by and talk to me, I'd be more than happy to talk to them more about math and music and whatever else is on their mind.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for carving some of your busy schedule to just share your knowledge and share your passion with us.
Right.
I hope that you guys had and learned a little bit more about math and music and the great resource that we have at Life University. And I hope to see you guys on our next episode. Have a beautiful rest of your week. Thank you guys. Bye. Thank you.